So I would just like to start going around the quote-unquote room and having people introduce themselves. So we start in my top left-hand corner. Adiel. How do you pronounce it?
It's correct. It's Adiel.
Okay.
That said it, my name is Adiel Andrews. I'm from Shogunas. I am 28 years old. I currently teach at a private kindergarten, but we kind of not working right now. So I joined the ECC class so that I can have clearer understanding and knowledge of how to deal with children, especially the ones who have a little challenge in learning. And I expect to do well, and I expect to work with everyone, and I'm happy to be a part of this class.
Okay, good. Emily?
Hi, my name is Emily Benny. I'm from Valencia. I'm 19 years old, and teaching has always been a passion of mine, so I decided to do this course.
Okay. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie Guevara. I'm 36 years of age. Have been teaching for a while and decided to do the course because I love teaching.
Your volume is a little low.
Hi, you're hearing me better now?
A little bit better, yes.
I am Jamie. I'm 36 years old. Have been teaching for a while. Just decided to, or just gotten the opportunity to get myself certified.
Okay, thank you. Camille?
Hi, I am Camille Bennett. I'm 36 years old. I'm interested in the field of ECC, and so I'm doing it to do a career change. Because before I was in management, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Melanie?
Hi, my name is Melanie Papinat. I work at St. Dominic Children's Home. I've always had a passion to work with children, and now I just want to be certified so I can become a teacher.
Right, thank you. Christy?
Hi, good day. My name is Christy Joseph. I'm 33 years old. I'm currently working under the OJT in Arima Boys RC. And I always dreamed of I jumped from so many careers to the other, and I finally decided to land here. This is where my heart took me. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from this course.
Thank you. Carolyn?
Hi, my name is Carolyn Calden. I'm from I attended Ashtabula College in Charlieville. Graduated, took a little break from school and everything, started a family, and now I have a 4-year-old son, and I'm ready to get back into education. So this course seems perfect to start right now.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nishara Thomas. 34 years of age. I have always been interested in teaching, and my mind just trained me towards the ECC, so I just decided to take a jump and register for the course.
Okay, thank you. Michaela?
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm 25 years old. I currently teach at a private kindergarten, and I took this course to further my knowledge in the field. So I hope to do well.
Okay, thank you. Tanika?
Hi, my name is Tanika. I'm 30 years of age. I've always been interested in teaching from since I'm small, so I've decided to pursue it from ECC, go straight up to primary, I hope. So this is my jump start.
Okay. Thank you. Rebecca?
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Matura and I just love working with children. Most of my experience working at preschools and primary, and now I'm recently started under the OJT at the ECC Center. So I'm really interested in what this course will do for my future, and hopefully one day that I'll have my own school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Abishai?
Hi, good day. I'm Abishai Edwards. I'm 22 years old. I don't have any kids. I'm passionate about children. I'm excited to learn everything there is to know about them.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Hi, good night. My name is Rebecca Solomon. I'm 24 years of age. I was recently employed at a daycare for the past 6 years. I enjoyed teaching and prepping the toddlers, and I just wanted to know more about them and take it further.
Okay, thank you. Donnell?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Joseph. I am 25. I currently watch over 3 little ones, and I enjoy that, and I just wanted to pursue this career to see how far I could reach in it.
Okay. Trisha?
Hi, good day. My name is Trisha Castaneda. I'm 37 years old. I love children. I love kids, and I do have 5 on my own. And I do want to learn more with this ECC to help out with my youngest, which she is 2.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. You had a weird move here. Melissa?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Melissa Herrera. I'm 35 years of age. I have at-home daycare, and I am trying to become qualified to open up a larger facility.
Okay, thank you. Anissa? If you're having trouble with your audio, switch off your video and try again. It might come in clearer. Switch off your video. So stop video for a moment and speak and see if your audio is clearer. Try it now. Are you still having trouble with your connection? Okay. We'll come back to you. Ryan or Rian? Rian?
Yes, it's Rihanna. Must I now join, so I don't know what's going on.
Just introducing ourselves.
Oh, I am Rian John. I am 19 years of age. I recently finished Trinity College. Yes, I don't know why it's fixing.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dr. Kayla Naka Francis. Where to start? I am mildly obsessed with language and composition, writing and reading, and those skill sets landed me in this position to lead you through and help you perfect, I shouldn't say perfect, improve your writing skills. And I want to jump right in with my first question. How many people were able to access Canvas before today's class?
I have.
I have, miss.
I have also.
I have, miss.
I have.
Okay. And were you able to read the samples?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So, the idea behind this class is that it's a flipped classroom. What that means is that the week leading up to class, you read through material, you do the activities, and then you come to the Zoom session with specific questions, comments, notes to share. So while we are scheduled for 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, we don't have to take a whole 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon. The more engaged you are in the material online by yourself, the more you engage in it, the more you figure out what you know, what you don't know, what you might need help in, is the more efficient our Zoom classes will be. So today, we are here to, apart from introduction, to clear up any issues you might have with what you've read so far. And we will also do that. Well, we have a small enough group. I'm rearranging some things on the fly here. Originally supposed to break out into to use breakout rooms and split you all into groups so you all could discuss what you've read, share your thoughts, your analyses, what you take away, what do you think you're supposed to learn from it. And then questions and answers, right? What I want to do first though, go through your responses for the general course material you've read so far. So the notes on variations of English and register, sentence patterns, oh, okay, cool. Yes. I know I posted on varieties of English and register. I also gave you some bonus information on the general process of communication. And so I want to open up now for you to share your thoughts with the class on what you read on those things. All right. Again, since most of you said you were able to access the information and read those things, I should backtrack. Before, were y'all able to see the landing screen, or was it a series of padlocks?
A series of padlocks, miss.
Padlocks.
Okay, so let's go through the landing page first, and then we will have a general discussion on the material that should have been available. Right? So now that the course is officially open and launched, they're not padlocks anymore. They're actual images, including a general welcome and outline, and specifically the class structure. Like I said, this is a flipped classroom. So at least 5 days before your next class, information will be up on Canvas for you to go through. Read it, participate, take your notes, try it out, really engage in the material before the Zoom class. So that when we meet on a Wednesday, we will be looking at whatever issues, whatever questions you might have, looking at how you respond to the material, and really clarifying anything or firming up any ideas that you would have been developing from reading the material. So the idea really is that this is primarily your responsibility to learn as much as you can. If you do not understand something, write down the question, ask it in class, because if you don't understand, chances are your classmates don't understand either. And so bringing it up in class is the best place for that, right? Any quiz you take on Canvas, quizzes can be up for 24 hours. So if you have to take a quiz on 8th of October, for example, from midnight in the morning, sounds weird, to 11:59 p.m., the quiz will be available, right? And if it's a, for example, if it's a 25-minute quiz, set aside the 25 minutes anytime during that 24-hour period. Sit down and take the quiz. If you close the window, if you navigate away from the page, if you disrupt the quiz in any way, Canvas will lock you out. So wherever you reach in the quiz, that would be your attempt, and those would be the marks you get. Right? So make sure when you take the quiz, you set aside the 25 minutes. Right? Do not navigate away from the page. I've had students with that issue. They navigated away from the page. They didn't know how to get back in. They lost the rest of time that they had. Canvas will just time you out, and that will be your grade. In terms of netiquette, I do need you all to be aware that with each Zoom session, I will be recording and then posting the recordings at the end of the week or after class, so that you can review class sessions when you're studying and preparing your final materials. That being said, we have a dress code. So please, nothing overtly political. Don't wear any printed slogans, anything that might be considered obscene or have curse words or anything, or imply curse words. Nothing too tight or revealing. During Zoom class, you're free to leave your camera on if you wish. You are not required to leave your camera on. This helps, I know, for some of us with connectivity issues. Sometimes you hear better with your camera off because you're not lowering your internet bandwidth that way. So you're increasing the ability to hear properly. Please mute your microphones until it is your turn to speak. Do not speak over another participant or use profanity. Right? And those are the basic rules as our netiquette and class structure. If we pay attention to those, we should have a pretty easy time in this class. Okay? You can read the course description. Oh, that's why I said assignments. And the syllabus on your own time. I won't go through them today. So everyone got to see module 1 and we all got to go through all the information here.
No, miss, I didn't.
Not all the information, Miss. No.
Okay.
Yes, we're seeing padlocks still.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still seeing padlocks as well.
I myself still see the padlocks.
I might have to contact the support desk for that because it should be published by now. It's a published course. So let's just go through it. Hopefully you'll have enough time before next week's class to be able to see the information beforehand and play around with working with Canvas and so on. I'm assuming too this would be for a lot of you your first time on Canvas.
Yes, miss.
All right.
Yes, miss.
So what we are doing this week, we are looking at different genres of writing. We're looking at the different varieties of English. And I have some sample readings in accordance with this that really just writing you would encounter in you know your daily life. Right, so we have a sample business letter. So y'all weren't able to see this, right?
No, miss, I was able to see the business letter and read it.
All right, so we have a sample business letter. We have a sample informal letter.
Yes.
I think everybody knows this song.
Yes, miss.
And we have a longer piece about earthquake. So everyone got to read all of these?
Miss, I'm still reading the earthquake.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't get read all.
There's I think 2 of it missing, which is the best holiday and the class trip.
The best holiday?
Yeah. My best holiday.
Oh yeah, because I do have a lot more samples in here. You got to go through types of essays?
No, miss.
All right, so what we are looking at here are genres of writing. So from your own experience in primary and secondary school, for example, you would have come across different styles of writing, different reasons for writing. Right, so we tend to look at descriptive narratives, recounts, expository writing, and persuasive writing. Expository writing really is what we're going to spend most of our time exploring in this class, the different types of expository writing. But it's also good to know what descriptive writing is, what narrative writing is, how to do a recount, because these styles can be used in expository writing. Right, so With descriptive writing, obviously the idea is to describe something in depth, right? It can be a person, a place, a thing. What you want to do is with your words, create a picture. So in descriptive writing, we will rely a lot on engaging our readers' senses. We want them to be able to see the scene, to hear it, to smell it, taste it, feel it, right? And you want to be able to do that without necessarily over describing something, but you don't want to under describe something. So if I ask you, describe a day at the beach, you want to give enough details that I could actually visualize myself on the beach. I can hear the waves breaking, almost smell the sea salt and the air, that tang in the air, right? You don't want to say, I went to the beach, I sat and I watched some waves, I took a swim, then I went home. Does that make you feel like you went to the beach? No, right? You don't even get the sensation of sand between your toes, that gritty feeling, We're not engaging the five senses, so we're not really describing a day at the beach. So a descriptive essay, paragraph, sentence even wants to engage those senses. I want you to feel this scene. I want you to live it, to feel like you're there, right? As opposed to a narrative. Now, what you would find is a narrative will use descriptive language, but what sets it apart from a descriptive essay is that it's following usually a specific character, and either a specific character outlining a very specific event from beginning to end, right? We're pulling this from fiction. Now, I'm always afraid to ask my students if they like to read. But if you read or watch movies, you see a narrative has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So usually when we're writing a narrative essay, there's that beginning, middle, and end storytelling feeling, right? Now, typically the narrative has a singular focus. It's one person or a specific event. There's a main character, in other words, right? So one of the things, the difference between just being a descriptive essay and being a narrative essay is having that singular main character. A recount is a special kind of narrative where you are retelling a specific event, right? So it could be a personal recount. So if you can think of it this way, if someone calls you to the witness stand and you have to tell them what you saw, that's a recount, right? You're going from beginning, this is what, and then I saw this, and then I did that, and then I did this, and then I did that. So it's retelling an event that has occurred. Factual, you can think of like a newspaper report where, or a news article or a news spot on TV where they're telling you something that happened, an event that happened, that's newsworthy. An imaginative recount is where you create a hypothetical situation, right? So there are 5 different types of recounts. Now, if you recount something and it's meant to entertain as much as inform, we can call that a literary account. And if you are tracing something step by step, so playing detective, that's a procedural recount. Again, bear these in mind because you will find some of these skills or practices come in very handy when we do expository writing, right? You might find yourself doing a procedural recount for what we call a process analysis or for a cause and effect essay. And we will, of course, talk about these kinds of essays in more depth later on in the semester. Expository is writing or essays. It's a fancy topic for saying something that explains. It's an essay that's meant to explain something. So it's factual and it's meant for your reader to come away with a better understanding or to learn something new about a topic. There are 6 different styles of expository writing. You have analysis by division, classification, cause and effect. I'm missing some from this slide. I do apologize. Cause and effect, compare and contrast, process analysis, and extended definition, right? So these are different styles of expository writing, and they all have slightly different purposes. Now, of course, the main purpose of this kind of writing is to explain something, but there are different kinds of explanations, so we have different styles of essays. Persuasive, on the other hand, we're trying to, and I'll tweak this a bit, what you're trying to do is convince your reader that your claim, your premise, your idea is viable. There's no 100%, especially when we get to more abstract ideas, there's no 100% way to prove you are completely and utterly right and someone is completely and utterly wrong. Instead, when we do persuasive or argumentative writing, we come up with an idea and we're trying to prove that that idea is viable and you should consider it, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's a good claim or idea to have, right? So you're not trying to convince someone that you are 100% wrong and I'm 100% right. The will is far too complex for that, right? And you end up sounding like a dictator when you try to say it's 100% yay or nay. We start with expository writing because we can take those methods and make them persuasive. So in expository writing, I'm only explaining, I am not picking a side. In persuasive writing, I am picking a side. And then I am going to explain why my side works. So you're using as much evidence and logical reasoning as you can to support your position. That's the difference with persuasive. So persuasive actually takes a little bit more work than expository. Expository, you're trying not to be biased. You're in the middle and you're just explaining something, right? For persuasive essay, you must pick a side. You must provide suitable evidence. And you should pay attention to what we call rhetoric, which are specific appeals you make. to be persuasive. In expository writing, the major appeal you make is I know about my subject and I am trustworthy. That is all you really need to prove. Other than that, you're just presenting facts and findings, right, to explain something, how something happens. It's factual, there's no question that it's right or wrong. It's just that people don't know how it happened, so let me explain how it happened. Now, you said you weren't seeing some of these. These were the samples that were missing.
Yes, miss, some of them.
Okay. Okay. Part of our activity depended on you being able to read these, jot down notes, and make comparisons. I was going to split you up into discussion groups and have you talk about specific essays and what you found about it, what you think are the major points, and so on and so on. Now, trying to figure out how do I do that? Right. So let me run an experiment. I'm going to create. Okay, I'm going to create breakout rooms, and hopefully I can share multiple screens in breakout rooms, because this is how we will have to work, so that y'all could read through something together and discuss what you think the elements of it are, and then report to the group. Now, for this exercise, there's no right or wrong. There's nothing embarrassing about it. What you see, what you find. Just to get the ball rolling on you being active readers, dissecting what you read, looking for structure and style and patterns, and what you could actually learn outside of the content. Right? So, let's see if we can do it. Oh, 19. Okay, so I'm going to try an experiment and share screen here so that you all could no, so don't do that. All right. Actually, you know what? Let me try this. Could one of you first go Canvas, log in, and go to the course and pull up one of the readings and then share your screen? Anyone?
Trying to.
Okay. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Get it to share it with you.
Okay, good. Yes, I was just about to pop in and say if one of you could pull up Canvas and share one of the readings.
Okay.
So y'all could read it and discuss. So let me float to another room and see how people are progressing. Hi. If one of you can go to Canvas and share one of the readings.
I don't have access to it as yet, so if anybody else have.
Hi. I seem to have lost one person from my breakout room. Do either of you have access to Canvas?
Hi, you hearing me?
Yes.
Right. I am getting some internet problems. I'm using my phone and not getting internet on my laptop at all. So it's kind of difficult for me to use my phone.
Okay. What about Lisa? Lisa? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Do you have access to Canva?
Phone. Yeah. I'm using my phone.
You're using your phone as well?
Yeah. Children using the laptop, so I'm not access to the laptop right now.
Okay. I don't know if. Let's Yeah.
So like she going on like look Miss Government.
Okay, part of the problem, I'm not sure if I share a screen in the breakout room and then leave if you will be able to see the screen. So on Canvas, there's an opportunity to share your thoughts. There's a discussion thread after you read through the different samples. So I'm going to postpone trying to do the breakout rooms and get people to read different samples. And instead, let us look at the registers, talk about that, and open up for questions, answers, comments. I mean, these questions might be limited because you didn't have a chance to go through the reading samples first. But they're up there. They should all be accessible.
Some still not accessible.
Mostly, I realized some of the files are in it's in the files tablet of Canvas. Even though the padlocks are there, I'm able to access them to files.
Okay. Right, the padlock shouldn't be there anymore if you're all registered and the course is up. So you would check after class. If it's still showing padlocks, I will have to contact the support desk and see why, because I'm not sure why you should still seeing padlocks. So
Plus, it had a couple of video, 1 or 2 video that was on it. It could have seen the video. I don't know if that was one of the samples.
I think the videos would have been I'm not sure. I don't think I have any videos in here.
Yes, Miss, I have a video with conclusion.
It's introductions, body, conclusion, brevity.
Yeah, that's the videos there.
But those videos, it's still showing locked on my system. I don't know why. Well, the padlock.
And
Well,
I
able to access it.
How are you going to see it?
I went in files.
Files? Okay.
Well, I am in files, and when you click on it, it's still saying locked until October 15th.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, if it's locked until October 15th, that's because it's tied to a specific module. Because I know some of that is tied to specific modules. So, to pace yourself as we go along so we are all on the same page in terms of discussion.
Well, I get to see it. I don't know how come.
Is it supposed to be 5 pages?
Yeah, I see in introduction, body, conclusion, and brevity.
Brevity, yeah. But those I cannot open any of those.
Okay. We're not ready for those yet.
It's 5 pages, miss.
I'm not. What do you mean 5 pages?
I'm seeing something with the legend of the North Pond Hermit. That's one. No.
I see the business letter, I see the generic outline, I see the informal letter.
Yep. I seen earthquake. It's so long.
Let's see this.
No, my essay outline locked until the 8th of October.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be locked. The reading should be open. So if you're going through the module and you're not getting the reading there, as your colleague said, the backup is to look for it in files. But it should be open for viewing. I will check after class, put on student view and see if it's blocked or not, but it should not be blocked.
Excuse me, one question. There's a lot of things posted, right? So
Mm.
we have a specific order in which we have to read through everything, or is just whatever posted, you have to read everything?
The order is the module. So if you go click into the module, it'll be ordered that way. Right? So when you go to the bottom of the screen, you see the next and the previous. So that is the order that you will be going through.
Right? So right now we're supposed to read the letters that they put up, the 3 different letters.
Yes.
Okay. And then what is earthquake?
Right, so yeah, those are the first set of sample writing. And then we have samples of the different types of expository essays that you can go through.
Well, right, guys, when I reach the expository essays, and again, to see anything, it's locked.
Okay. After class,
I'm having that same problem.
After class, it's published properly.
After earthquake types of essays, it locked, and then after that, I could see some. Yeah. So after that, I'm skipping that because I'm not getting in that, but the descriptive essay, I'm getting that.
Same here.
Okay. After class, I will check. I'll see what I can find out and check out because it should be open. It's published. It should be open. Should be no restrictions whatsoever for at least the first week.
Okay.
Right. I would like to briefly go through variations of English.
Okay.
Right. So when we talk about varieties of English, we can mean in 2 major senses, regional varieties and registers. Right now.
That's locked for us, miss.
Okay, so I have to go through and look through why it's locked. I'm not sure. I have to find out about that, right? So give me a day.
Okay.
Give me a day. I'll send off an email and see if I can sort it out for you. Okay?
Okay, miss. Thank you.
Now, when we talk about regional Englishes, how many people ever heard the saying, "The sun never set on the British Empire"? If you ever
miss.
No?
No, miss, I never.
No, miss. You don't teach history in school anymore, right? Once upon a time, up until the 60s, 1960s, so
Hi, miss. Excuse.
Yes.
I sent you a private message, but it seemed like you didn't get it. I have to leave for a little while, and I'll be back to deal with some internet problems.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I didn't see the flashing. Is it up too high? No, I didn't see the flashing. It was blocking it. Well, the idea that the sun never set on the British Empire is because up until 1960s, 1970s, England had colonies and territories all over the world.
Okay.
So literally, the sun could set in England, but the sun will be up in a colony somewhere. So literally speaking, the sun never set on the British Empire. Which is why, to this day, at least a quarter of the world's population speaks English. Some variety of English, right? It is one of the, what we call a world language, because almost anywhere you land in the world, you will find an English speaker, right? Even in France, though, they will not speak English to you until you mangle French enough for them to get annoyed, and then they will speak English. Right? But most people, a lot of people in the world speak some variety of English. If not their first language, is their second or third language. So what this leads to, with all these billion plus speakers, is that we have regional varieties of language. And these variations result in specific accents, rules, and what we call idioms, right? The most obvious variations, difference between American English and British English. But we have American, British, Canadian, Caribbean, African, Indian, Asian Englishes, right? We have major regional variations. Every region has a specific dialect, right? We would pronounce words very similarly. There would not be much difference between how we pronounce words. I highlight some exceptions here, like the word khaki. For most of us, we pronounce it khaki. In Barbados, it's pronounced kaki. Yeah, the first time I heard a Bajan person say khaki, I thought I went looking for key because I thought they meant, but they pronounce it keki. So they're sometimes very small shifts in pronunciation, but by and large, in the Caribbean, we share pronunciation rules, right? We are one region.
Hello everyone, this is Korean Billy, American John, British Sam, Australian Walter, Chantal. You guys are excited today. So today in this video we're going to be finding out pronunciation differences in US, UK, Australian, and South African English. I have prepared a variety of words and I'm going to show you guys the words and ask you how you pronounce each word. Let's get started. Two of them, but I would say the majority is ants. Little, so many ants in that shit all. How many ants do you have? It's exactly the same pronunciation though. A and C. It's the same pronunciation. A lot of people do say aunt though, but it's usually ant. Ant. And the UK one? Aunt. 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 You have to say it. Yes, you have to leave like aunt. Yeah, that's aunt. Like a aunt. Yeah, aunt. What's the difference between aren't and aunt? Aunt and they aunt. So it's more like a lowering the intonation. Yeah. Aunt. What about the insect? Ant. Ant. Like a rest spelling. Yeah. I'll mix it up and I usually say like auntie. 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 I know that's not auntie as well. Personally, I say aunt as well, but I usually say auntie when I say this word instead of just aunt. You also say auntie. It's really case by case. Super case by case.
I would agree with Walter. I think it's definitely aunt or auntie. Many people would use auntie as well.
What about aunt?
Aunt is an aunt.
Yeah, aunt. I don't think we say aunt. I haven't used it.
Next one is.
Oh man, there are 4 or 5 different pronunciations of this depending on where you come from. I think what you would probably hear was can pie, pecan pie. So there's the emphasis on and there's a lot of different ones. But yeah, I would say pecan is a lot.
Pecan.
Like, it can do it. It
I'm an American, not an American. I think I've heard pecan pie. Yeah, they just cut it real quick. What about pecan pie? Oh, pecan pie. What'd you call it? Pecan pie. You're like pecan it. See, I don't even ever remember saying this in Australia, but if I read it, I would say pecan. So pecan pie. Personally, for me, I put the stress with C. As I said, I don't even remember saying this word in Australia, but yeah, just by reading it myself, I say pecan pie. Pecan pie. Yeah.
I haven't had the pecan pie discussion in South Africa before, so I'm not sure. I'm not speaking for everyone, but myself, I'd say pecan pie. Pecan pie.
Wait for everyone to get to. Yeah.
I'm pecan pie.
Yeah.
Don't say it like this.
Bring it on.
Sorry. I always say pecan pie.
Pecan. Lord.
In this episode, Americans are low a lot of the time.
Alright, and next one is this one.
I feel like
I'm
going again. Base. Bars.
Wow.
Yeah, with like a Z. Oh,
Yeah, base.
We say bars as well.
Bars. So is it
Bars. Yeah, bars. Oh yeah. Australians say it similar to the UK because Australia. We learn the same style of English. So we're always going to be not against, but like different to Americans. It's not that I'm different. I'm unique. No,
UK has influenced so many countries.
Hello. It wasn't much of a choice.
Exactly. Oh no.
Next one.
I love the word.
Lord.
Banana.
Banana.
So you speak
Banana.
banana.
Yeah. Banana. Australians also say banana, but we also say nana.
Nana.
Oh. That's like a cute way. You want some nana?
Yeah.
There's a song like banana, make those bodies sing.
But the American version will be banana.
Also banana.
Banana. So have you not heard of the banana?
I mean, of course I've heard of the banana. But
Do you guys know about pajamas? Yes,
banana in pajamas.
Pajamas, bro. You've never heard of bananas in pajamas? Man, you're missing out.
Next one.
This is my word, guys.
You heard it. This is my word.
I always have fights about this. Zebra.
Zebra. What's that called, zebra?
Oh, it makes my
Of course you say zebra because you have Z, but we don't have Z. We have Z. Zebra.
But you don't have real zebras either, so you have to put it when we say it.
I don't think that's how it works.
Next one.
Vitamin.
I'm so proud.
Yeah. It's a vitamin. Yes, that's a vitamin. And in Korean, it's also pronounced very similar. Like vitamin.
Cunning.
Not
Vital.
Vital
vitamin.
Vital. Then Australia?
I always grew up by saying vitamin.
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 Not vitamin though.
Well, I would probably say vitamin. I probably wouldn't say that it sounds like vitamin. Vitamin. But more the pronunciation towards the American style.
Stronger together.
Finally. We actually use both, I think. I have heard vitamin and vitamin.
Even in Australia, I say vitamin. I'm pretty sure I also heard vitamins.
I grew up saying vitamin, but I also noticed some of the sensitivity.
So it wouldn't be that strange to use both ways. The next one.
Yes. But I didn't know there was another way of pronouncing it. Pasta. Pasta.
The reason I feel like this is correct is what he's I see that because to me the British pronunciation is so like regal feeling, but a pasta sounds like you're spitting it out. Like
I'm sorry. But
pasta.
I'm just not from the posh area, so I say pasta, mate.
Pasta, mate.
Yeah, pasta. Yeah. I say pasta.
Pasta.
Because like I say the word past as well, right?
So not the short A sound. Pasta.
I hope I'm saying it right. Pasta.
Pasta.
Yeah.
Sound up pretty. Pasta. Pasta.
Pasta.
Oh, not pasta.
Pasta.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a mix. Yeah.
Isn't it from like Italian pronunciations? Italian pronunciation would be pasta.
Like pasta.
Right? Pasta. Next one. Yeah. Tomato.
Oh.
Tomato. Tomato.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Quite literal.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Yeah. Tomato. It's Aussie O. Yeah. Tomato.
Not like tomato.
Definitely not.
It sounds like tomorrow though. How do you pronounce tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Tomato. Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomato. Tomato.
Yes.
Tomato.
Yeah.
It's the clear T sound, not tomato.
Tomato.
One time ago when we all used to make fun of each other's accents, those are like key words that we'd say, like tomato.
Long ago, like a minute ago.
Like recently. 30 seconds ago.
Next one.
Oh.
Leisure.
Well, let's see.
Laser.
I didn't say that.
See, you're okay.
Like, so shocking. John, stay away. What are you doing to her?
Leisure. And it has a j sound. It's very difficult, but leisure.
Leisure.
Yeah, leisure.
Like leisure. And you can
Leisure.
legend.
Leisure.
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 You're a leisure, mate. Leisure. You're a leisure.
Leisure. Leisure.
Leisure.
Did you not see my reaction?
And this one.
Oh, I was going to try.
So in this case, it's going to be daughter. Daughter.
Okay, can I try? Daughter.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the different. Yeah. Daughter. I like that.
Daughter. Daughter.
See, Australia has a very good mix. First part has more of the British, and the second part is more American. So we say like daughter.
I was expecting
Daughter.
Usually make it a sound. Daughter.
Like better.
Better.
Oh, yeah.
Father. Mother.
You look so lonely.
I know.
And what about South Africa?
Daughter.
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 Anyway,
Yes, give it the R sound.
Daughter.
so you have the clear T sound. Alright, so we've been finding pronunciation differences in US, UK, Australia, and South African English. Before we finish the video, don't forget to check out my mate's YouTube channel, Pagoda1, and also check out the Instagram accounts up there. Also, you have your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, people know me from Cozy TV, KO.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop advertising for them. But even in this video, and I think this video will spark some controversy with Trinidadians because I don't know how many people notice our pronunciation floats between American and British. And as the young man from Australia and the woman from South Africa. You see, some of their words are in between, there's shifts. And so it's interesting when we look at pronunciation, but pronunciation is one of the hallmarks of regional variations, right? They have actually different pronunciation rules that would lead to them saying words the way they do. So in American English, for example, when a T is in the middle of the word, it's usually not pronounced as a T, it's usually pronounced as a D. Right?
Daughter.
They will say water, daughter, right? It have a D sound. Whereas in British English, we will stress the T. Got into a lovely fight ordering a glass of water. And the girl said, water. It's like, no, it's water. It has T in it.
Water.
Needless to say, I never got my water because I pissed off the girl. But those are some differences in pronunciation. So in Trinidad, for example, we, because of our mixing population, where our ancestors came from, we tend to apply pronunciation rules from different languages to our English words, right? So, for example, do people come from Sawa or San Juan?
Sawa, San Juan.
Come from Sawa, right? A basic rule in African English or in African languages is that we don't end with consonants. So when a word ends with a consonant, it's going to take on, either they're going to add a vowel sound to the end, or they're going to drop the consonant. And this is reinforced actually by French, because in French, you don't pronounce the last consonant either. So in Trinidad, our major language was Patois, which was a blending of French, African, Spanish, and English. So a lot of our pronunciation is that blending of French and African. So we will say sour. We will say sandy grandy.
Sangre grande.
Right? A lot of our pronunciation is different. So when I hear people on the news saying, and then they went up in Calvary Hill in San Juan, it's like, why did they do it in Puerto Rico? I thought we were talking about Trinidad. Because it's Sawa. That is our legitimate pronunciation of that place, right? Apart from pronunciation, you can tell different dialects by the actual sound of how we speak, right? The kind of lilt. Some of us have a lilt, some of us are flat. Trinidad, for example, for those of you who've traveled, if you haven't, for those of you who travel, I'm pretty sure you get this comment all the time. Trinidadians sound sing-songy. Why are you always singing? Right? We tend to have a very musical lilt to how we speak, right? Our pronunciation goes up and down and on and on and on and on, right? As opposed to if you listen to Jamaicans have a flatter accent. Jamaica, Antigua, right? A lot of the islands have a flatter accent. They don't, their tone doesn't go up and down as much as ours, right? Again, this comes from the mixture. One of the major influences in Trinidad English is Hindi. And if you've ever watched a Bollywood movie, Hindi has a very musical lilt to it, and it goes up and down, and we speak that way as well, right? So together, pronunciation and that sound of the overall conversation feeds into what we call the accent, our accent, right? So when people tell you have an accent, that is a combination of how you pronounce words and how you actually speak overall. It's how we sound, right? And that's how we can tell variations based on regions. We also have different punctuation rules, especially between American Standard English and British Standard English, or Standard English most everywhere else in the world. We have different punctuation rules, especially commas. What you're seeing now is comma rules aligning more with American comma rules. So instead of putting a comma everywhere you feel to pause, we actually have specific rules for where you put commas. Also, we talked about idioms. So an idiom is a saying that only makes sense as a complete saying. It doesn't, if you split up the word, it's not, or analyze it purely linguistically, it does not make sense, right? So we say things like it making hot, right? Or my favorite idiom, are coming now, and you're walking out the door. In Jamaica is a soon come back, which makes a little more sense, but a coming now literally means I will be back soon. Right? If you're not Trinidadian and someone is walking out the door and say, I'm coming now, you get very confused. You're like, but you're leaving. So that's the opposite of coming into a space. So how you mean you're coming now, right? Other words that mean something completely different in our language and elsewhere, liming, are going and take a lime. And if you tell an American you want a lime, they will probably bring a fruit for you, because they have no idea lime means hang out. They say hang out, right? And so these are some of the major variations you might find. So you're looking at how we pronounce individual words, how our speech sounds overall. So when we group the words together and we're saying sentences, how it will undulate. Or not, it could be flat, and specific sayings or idioms, right? So for example, and for people like me who can't spell, this is the worst thing, switching from American to British English and back. And for this class, in this university, I think we go with British spelling, just so you are aware. There are some changes, right? Which would also, in the long run, affect pronunciation of some of the words. Right? We have a list of sayings. Sayings are very specific to regions as well, and sometimes only make sense in the regional version. One of my favorite examples, in Nigerian English, what they call Pidgin English, this is an in-between language formed so that the Africans could could communicate with other Africans and Europeans as well. They use a word na, right? And it does not mean no. In Trinidad, na means no, right? Or not. In Nigerian Pidgin English, it actually means a or an. And so when we move around the world, even though we all speak English, sometimes it doesn't mean the same exact thing, right? And I leave you all with the warning. If you ever go St. Lucia someday when we all are vaccinated and we can travel again, or we get our caseload down and we can travel in the bubble someday, don't ever call a woman in St. Lucia salop. It doesn't mean the same thing that it means here, right? It really does not. It means something completely different. Salop here means you just, you have the ability, but you don't want to try, you don't want to do. Is a combination of lazy and unmotivated, with a dash of resistance, disgust, however you want to put it. Salop means thirsty in St. Lucia. Completely different. Right? So, as y'all are going into early education, as you said, I like to stress a sociolinguistic point. When you study sociolinguistics, they tell you there is no such thing as proper English. There's a standard English. And that shift is very important, because if there's a proper English, that means what we speak every day is improper or wrong. And that's not true, right? There's a standard English, and it's a standard because no matter where I go in the world, if I use that variation of English, more people would understand me, right? So if I land in California, for example, on a beach somewhere, and I'm trying to get directions, and I speak standard English, the surfer dude will understand me. If I speak Trinidad English, the surfer dude will not understand me, right? So it's a standardized register, which brings me to the second point in language variation, English variation, which is a register. So this is where it gets a little more complicated. So within, we have differences based on region. Within each region, we have what we call registers or dialects, versions of that region's English, right? It's usually dictated by setting, person you're communicating with, your level of education, your profession, and so on. So the register is the version of the regional English that we use. So standard English is a specific register, right? Now, it's important to know this because register leads to all kinds of assumptions, right? We tend to judge people based on their register. So we will assume they're educated or not, they're rich or they're poor, they're rude or distant. You can tell an age by the register you use. Young people speak a different way than older people. Sometimes younger people don't know how to switch their register in appropriate settings. They don't have that practice, right? So you can tell a whole mess of things by register. And I bring this up, and is this a writing course? I bring it up because we have different registers when we write, right? We could broadly categorize registers as formal or informal, right? So a formal register, and what you would be using for most of your courses when you're writing, it's marked by things like not using contractions, If you're speaking, you use the person's title and last name, not their first name. You adhere as closely as possible to standard English, syntax, and grammar, right? Depending on how formal the setting is, you might go with the not ending your sentences with a preposition, avoiding all contractions altogether, not starting your sentences with any kind of conjunction, and so on. So a lot of these standard English rules you would apply in your writing or your reading when you're doing a formal register. So you're trying to impress people that you are educated professional of a certain class, and so on and so on. On the other hand, the informal register, you're going to get fragments. So these are not complete sentences. You're going to get a lot of, you will start or end with a conjunction or end with a preposition. Use slang more frequently. Slip into vernacular, and so on. And again, bringing this up really for you to one of the main ideas I have as a teacher is people being conscious of their language use, either speaking or writing. A lot of the times, I speak English, so I must know how to write well. It's not 100% true. It's a skill, and it takes thought and consciousness to be able to write well. Don't rely on instinct alone or talent alone. Talent will only get you so far, but practice, thinking, planning makes perfect, right? So, as an example, read the cartoon here. So, what register is B?
Informal.
Informal?
Yes, informal. Who do you think he's talking to in B?
Sounds like he's speaking to a schoolmate.
Yeah.
Anybody, it could be anybody.
It sounds like a stranger he's speaking to.
Well, what age? You said schoolmate. How many people agree, show of hands, schoolmate? At least someone around his age, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So who do you think he's speaking to in A?
A teacher or some elder.
It would seem someone older.
Adult.
Right.
Yeah, an older person.
Like an adult.
Yeah, he's speaking to an adult. What would happen if he tried speaking to adult using B?
You get a different approach.
Don't look at him funny.
They're going to know why he's speaking like that. They'll think it's rude.
They'll think it's rude, exactly, right? So to stress, when you're picking what register to speak in or write in, your audience is very important, right? You wouldn't dare speak to, if you're a child, you do not speak to an adult that way. I know a lot of children somehow not getting this message. They watch too much TV, maybe, I don't know. But for most of us growing up, we wouldn't dream of talking to a strange adult that way. Right? So, likewise, if you were, say, writing a business email, right? Technically, this is a different setting than writing an email to your friend. So you want to make sure that you're writing in the formal register. Right? Now, there are instances when you would be writing like an expository essay where you might want to include passages in a more informal tone, right? Be very aware when you're playing with registers that there's something very specific that you're trying to convey, right? Don't do it accidentally, do it on purpose, right? So be very conscious of, okay, I might start my introduction or go through my conclusion and be less formal than the body of the essay, because I want to start with a conversational tone, because I want to get people comfortable with the topic that I'm about to talk about, right? So you might play around with registers that way. Also, as teachers, and this is a teacher joke, I suppose, I think we've all done this at some point, you know? Be very careful not to be too judgmental with registers. So if you all had an opportunity to read it, how many people have had a similar experience like this? Right. Don't assume because someone is not using the correct word or grammar, they don't know it. They might be doing it for a different reason, right? Either they interpret the setting as requiring a specific kind of register, so they're not very formal, or they're doing it to show off their identity and to claim a certain identity in that space, right? We lose people when we are being overly pedantic. Now, I had a conversation recently with an older professor who insisted that the correct and most formal way of writing included passive voice. We haven't used passive voice and formal writing in I don't know how long. As a matter of fact, I don't know, you probably would have heard teachers, if they talk about passive writing, telling you to avoid the passive voice, right? So the passive voice is where the sentence doesn't really have a subject. The subject is being acted on and not doing the action, right? And it tends to make long, complicated sentences, and it's no longer a style that we look for in formal writing, in academic writing. And so people adopt that style when they're trying to be overly formal, and it can fall flat in your writing because it comes off like the teacher being sarcastic and going, well, can you? You know, and your message is lost. So when you're writing, when you're using your register, be very careful. I know I've marked papers before where people have slipped and they've used vernacular in their writing. People who are addicted to texting, for example, might actually write text speech in their formal essays and not be aware of it. And so I'm warning you from now, be very, very conscious when you are writing that you are in the specific register you need to be, right? Right. I'm gonna stop sharing here. And what I'd like to do now, we've reached the 1.5 hour mark. And what would be left is the reading of the samples, which, you know, give me a day or two and then you should have full access to that. What I want to do instead is open up for questions and comments. and then wrap up. So any questions and comments?
Miss, my internet keep coming and going. So at one point I was here, and the next point it reconnecting. So I'm hoping that you're probably recording so I could watch it over because I don't know what's going on with my internet. I don't know if it's the weather having it reconnecting like that.
Okay, yeah, this is recorded and it will be up after the session.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Okay. Anybody else? So, question? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a formal letter, but you made a mistake and you wrote, let me say, you wrote please, but you put PLZ, like how we'll write it in text messages. Can you scratch it off and write the correct thing, or you have to redo the essay or something?
Well, that brings up actually a very good point. Everything in this class will be submitted electronically.
Okay.
Right?
Because I know some students, they will make a mistake and they'll type up please, and then they will, like how they will type up fast, they'll put PLC and not the correct please as English. So
Right. So you have the opportunity, because everything is being typed, to if you catch a mistake, erase and start again.
Or you can simply do a spell check on your essays.
Yes. Now, Microsoft Word has these. I don't know how I don't know how people ignore them when they're writing. You see those red squiggles and blue squiggles under your words? Pay close attention every time you see a red squiggle and a blue squiggle. Don't ignore it, because
it's something to do with your spell check.
yeah, yes, right. No, don't laugh. Because I long before this current pandemic, I much preferred everyone submit their assignments electronically, because it makes it easier for me to write comments and so on. And the amount of people who sent me essays with red squiggles and blue squiggles and never addressed it. And I'm like, didn't you see the red squiggles and blue squiggles? That's what they're there for. You're losing points because you're failing in what we call mechanics. So you're not doing proper grammar, punctuation, spacing, formatting. And all these things will affect how the overall essay is graded, because the more problems you have, the harder it is to read and understand what it is you're trying to say, the lower your mark is going to be. So get rid of the red squiggles and blue squiggles before you send it in. Right?
Another thing, this class like English A? Or will it be a combination of both English A and English B?
English A is
English A is normal English, and English B is literature.
English language.
Yes, English language. Yes, it's English language.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't want to do a lit. Well, you might, but I would scare a lot of people if we do a lit class. So.
I don't like. I love literature, yes, but I don't think I can handle the next one after CXC.
Yeah. Apart from the fact that I don't know. I don't know what's too much reading. I don't know. I've never understood people who say it. Right. My current boast is, so far for the pandemic, I've read 12 books. So yeah. Yeah. These aren't props. These are.
Oh my god. That's nice.
So I think y'all might be happy that it's only English language, even though it might be a little rigorous, because I'm persnickety about language arts as well, right? For several reasons. Any other questions, comments? I usually like to end with a roundup of what you've learned from the session. Was your takeaway? So you can add that as well.
Miss, I have a question. I heard you you keep mentioning the word registers. And when you mention registers, are you referring to the different writing styles?
The different registers in English?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So what we might call, well, it's even a finer point than dialect, because even within a dialect, you can have registers. So what we're looking at is how language goes from being very, very formal to very, very informal. And those are your registers, moving from one to the next. So we do it all the time. We speak one way if we're talking to our parents. We speak one way if we're talking to our friends. We speak one way if we're talking to our co-workers. We speak another way if we're talking to the boss. We speak another way if we're talking to police officers, right? And so on and so on and so on. So in every situation, we actually switch how we speak, right? Very few people speak one way straight through.
Okay.
Right? And for example, if you're wishing your mother happy birthday, right? You're not going to send her a memo. You're not going to say, "Good evening, Meta, and have a blessed and felicitous birthday celebration," because she's going to wonder what's wrong with you, right? You're going to say, "Happy birthday, mommy," or whatever that special name you have for your mother is, because any other register would suggest a lack of intimacy. You don't really know this person, you don't really love this person, you don't really care, right? On the other hand, you're not going to speak to your boss. You're not going to walk into his office or her office, sit down and say, "Yeah, and see what I do last night, boy, yeah, want to hear about that?" You won't do that unless your boss is your very, very good friend, right? So register simply means when we're in a specific situation, we will speak a certain way because it is required of us. Most of you all, as you say, you're going into early education. And I think it's very important to stress from young this ability to speak different ways for different situations. What we've had in the past, and we're slowly growing out of, but what we had in the past was this idea that there was a proper way to speak and a wrong way to speak, right? And that wrong way usually was associated with a certain race, a certain class, a certain living environment, and so on and so on, right? And so what you would find is that you psychologically, you're building in a child this idea that I am wrong and I must be corrected, as opposed to I speak one way and that's fine, and I can learn to speak a variety of ways to suit a variety of purposes, right? So one, you're starting on a negative, and you'll learn about the difference between negative and positive reinforcements. So saying there's proper English, speak proper English, suggests that they do not speak proper English, that what they speak is wrong or inadequate or not good. And that will start to reflect on them. Language is an identity marker, right? So you would find, for example, if your language, like when you travel, I used to do this a lot of times. I went to school in the States, and I refused to change my accent. I don't care who was around me. I didn't change my accent. So I spoke Trinidadian for the 13 years I was away. And what would happen is people who were in the States for a long while or a little while and became, we need a term for because they're not freshwater Yankees, because they actually cross saltwater to get the Yankee accent. but they're not Yankees. But they're trying to speak like Yankees. And they will come around me. I will speak Trinidadianese, and suddenly they start speaking. They don't even know when they switch back to the Trinidad accent. Because I refuse to change. Because for me, I was very proud to be Trinidadian wherever I went. I thought we were the best island in the world for me. And so I was proud to flaunt it, right? But there are people who travel, and because they are going in as immigrants, because where they come from might be looked upon with scorn, they will change their accent and adapt the host country's accent so that they can blend in, right? So it depends on your identity. But if I'm starting with a little 3-year-old and telling them that your identity is wrong because your language is wrong, we're building a complex before they even get to regular school. So we started switching the language. So it's a standard English. We're looking at switching registers. So you can speak this way with your friend, but if you're speaking to teacher, speak this way. When you're speaking to mommy, speak this way, and so on and so on and so on, right? So we stress registers because we don't want to start the child off on a negative foot, feeling like I am not good enough because I can't speak proper, right? Thank you for the excuse for a long tirade, by the way. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes?
What about like, okay, so I have noticed that when they are playing, they switch registers. So they would be playing with the dollies, and then they would start making the American accent or the other. So should they be corrected, or should we say anything at that point in time? Is it that they are just expressing what they've heard, or what's how should we deal with that?
Well, I don't think it's wrong. And as a teacher, I think it's always good to encourage your children to be able to code switch or switch registers based on situation. So it's something that if you see them doing it naturally, it's something we actually should reinforce. Because as they grow older, they will learn that speaking with human beings, not just plays, so speaking with human beings, they will bank on that instinct. I will switch. For some of us, when you pay attention, we actively start mimicking the register of the other person we're talking to, right? So again, so when people came yanking around me, but they were from the Caribbean, and I refused to switch, they would switch to my register, right? You start to mirror the person you're communicating with. And is a good skill because you want to be able to talk freely with your friends in your vernacular, in your regular language, and you want to be able to impress your boss and get a job with a more standard or formalized English. It will only help. And then when it comes time for them to learn to write, they would know they can speak one way and write another way. So I don't know if you've heard also the old adage, you write how you speak.
Yes.
Right? Yes and no. If you only know one way to speak, you're probably going to write the one way you know because you only know one register. Right. If you know different registers and you know you can switch registers when the need arises, chances are you'll be able to write differently than how you might speak to your friends because you recognize it's a different setting and I need to do something else. So it's kind of the reasoning behind this whole idea of we have standard English and we have other registers, and not a problem. I know for the children in my homework center, we tell them to translate. Because sometimes they come in and they say something, and I was like, I have no idea what you just said. Please translate that. Because I don't even, it's new Trinidadian pronunciation. Where it's mostly vowels. It starts with a consonant and it's mostly vowels. so you have no idea what the word really is. That's just me. So I'm not used to hearing it. So when we play translation, translate that, and then you can translate what I said so that your peers understand. So you gain a double role learning how to switch registers. I don't know why it's an American accent though. That's the scary part to me, but
Yeah. So the next thing is what about the, the would the register fall under the switching of actual language? So like my 3-year-old, she's doing Spanish and German right now. So like I know with the German is a heavier accent. So should I should okay, not just her. Should you like encourage her to like speak a softer tone to like how we are accustomed? Should I take how do we address stuff like that with
so
the language, with the switching of the language?
she uses a German accent when she's speaking English.
She speaks no, she she's lighter with the German, like okay, so if you sneeze, she say, what's that thing she said?
What is
Gesundheit.
Mm.
Gesundheit. Right. So she will just, but to me, when it is like you hear the pronunciation and the narrative and the videos, it's like a harsher thing. So should I guide her towards that or let her figure it out on her own? Figure it
She might figure it out on her own right now. She's code switching languages as well as so all the things that would come along with the language, yes. And German does sound like you're cussing all the time.
Yeah.
And so it might come with practice because she's only 3. She's not a native German speaker. And I suppose as the languages get more advanced or the lessons get more advanced, they will pay more attention to intonation, how you fix tone. So we don't do it in this class per se, but when you're looking at non-verbal or what I like to call paralinguistic, because they're not actual words, but they have a lot to do with how we stress words, how we so our tone, our speed, how we vary words up and down. So in English, for example, when you're asking a question, it goes up at the end.
Right.
As one of the signals. So, we would know the difference between what you come here for and what you come here for, because we're changing how we actually say it, right? In Mandarin, it's even harder because you have words that are spelled exactly the same, but they mean different things based on how you stress the vowel, right? So ma means is different from ma, and so on and so on. So each language has specific rules on how you pronounce a word, where you put the stress and how that affects meaning. And the more she grows in the languages, the more she will learn how to do it, right? At this point, if you are, I don't want to necessarily correcting, but you might reinforce the pronunciation, the specific pronunciation, tone and all that it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So she probably is inventing Trini German. So that's not necessarily a wrong thing. Stressing her own.
It's more like a pepper thing German.
Huh?
It's more like a pepper thing German.
So, an interesting question. Anyone else?
Miss, one more question from me. what we have to complete or do before next class, besides reading through the samples and jotting down questions and
Right. So next week's class should get published by tomorrow. And so what we are looking at in that would be a quick overview of word classes and so. So as next week class gets published, the expectation is you will go through that material, engage in it, jot down your notes, jot down your questions, engage in the discussions and the activities. Coming out of this week, we have your first piece of homework, which is, and it's described on Canvas as well. So for this week, your homework is to write a 1 page, no more than 1 page, response to any of the essay samples that you've read. So I'm specifically looking at the longer form essay samples, narrative, recount, and so on. Looking at any of those samples and writing your response. A response paper is really literally how you respond to what you've read. What was the main point of what you read? How did it go about establishing that main point? How did you respond to what it had to say? Do you agree, disagree? Do you like the writing? And so on and so on, right?
Story itself.
Pardon?
It's something like an overview of the story itself.
Yes, right? So as you're all going into the education field, this is something we call journaling. Journaling allows you to have a more hands-on interaction with the material, because you're not just reading it and putting it aside, you're reading and responding, you're engaging in it, right? So it's almost like you're having a conversation with the piece. So it makes your learning more personal, more individual. You're actually constructing your knowledge, right? And then based on what you write, that will be part of our discussions next week, right? So 1 piece of homework, engage in the week's activities for next week's class. It should be up by tomorrow. So you can go through, read through at your own pace, come with your questions and comments, and that will form our discussion next week. Right? Any other questions? Yeah?
Yes, I want to ask about the reading material, the books. I think I got one of the books, but not the rest of them. If we have to go to the library or get source from the library.
We are working on, the last email I saw, they were currently working on library support, because we're in a new situation. Everything is pretty much, Nallis is closed until October 11th, for example. I think they're actually opening on the 14th. So our national library system is closed because of COVID at the moment, and the lockdown, well, not lockdown, the restrictions we're under at the moment. I'm not sure about most of UTT's libraries on their campuses. So I can't guarantee you could go to the library and borrow the books per se. That being said, a lot of what we're doing in the course is not directly based on the books, right? This is a new situation. If you cannot access the books, I can't quiz you, judge you on the book, right? So we're going to work with what we what we can work with in this current situation. Okay?
Okay, miss.
Is it on the campus student itself, or are you giving us the names of the book that we could try to get it?
The books are listed in the syllabus. So if you go the second page, the second page on Canvas is a link to the syllabus. You can also access it on the left-hand side and read through the syllabus. The listing of books is there.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Miss Sam, for the response paper that we have to write, are we required to actually submit it on Canvas or how?
Preferably submit it on Canvas, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So, general rule, anything you have to write for this course, please submit via Canvas. For, just ease of collection. When people email things, depending on your workload, it might go missing and whatnot. So Canvas, it's there. I could only find it there. It can't be buried by anything else because it's in a very specific place for me to access, right? It is now 7:06. We've been at it for 2 hours, right? So let us wrap up, go around the room, and one takeaway from this class. I'm going to start with Tanika.
Miss, well, like I said, my internet gave a lot of trouble for this class, but I was able to hear like in and out, and I was amazed at the different, how I can put it, genres of writing, if you understand. And even when he was teaching us with the register, I had no idea of that. So that was something new to actually learn. Because our custom here in my teacher from since primary school say most of us write in depth, like to explain, different formats for different, so that was interesting.
Okay. Thank you. Melissa?
I'm a bit familiar with the genres, but the thing that kind of stood out to me was the video that we did. I know that we do speak differently, and even as the video was pointed out, the different countries and in our own country, I think you mentioned this as well, that even us as Trinidadians, we pronounce things differently. So that just stood out to me a little more this time around.
Thank you. Yes, notice in future classes, you can tell where someone is from in Trinidad by how they pronounce Siparia or Siparia. Think about it. There are two pronunciations for that place, and depending on where you are from in Trinidad, you will pronounce it one way or the other way. Siparia or Siparia.
So Superior would be, that would mean that we're from north, west, south.
I can't tell anymore because my mother's from Point Fortin. So I pronounce it, I grew up pronouncing it Siparia. I also hear people pronouncing it Siparia, and I'm like, I don't know where you're from, but okay. But apparently there's a large enough population that says Siparia. Like,
No, superior. Yeah, I don't know.
Superior.
Right.
Superior.
I think Northerners don't pronounce superior right. That's my right. I say that as a Northerner myself, but also, you know, the people who don't go past the lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
So I've gone past the lighthouse, but I mean, in general, we don't go past the lighthouse, right? Lisa. Still no, Lisa. Okay. Michaela.
I think the things that stood out for me most was remember the registers, the different forms of language, and I was really interested in this topic.
Okay. Thank you. Emily.
One thing I learned is the different ways people around the world speak compared to us in Trinidad and the huge difference it makes.
Okay. Thank you. Abishai. Okay. Okay.
No, I'm here, but I was good looking through the course outline and trying to figure out everything. Well, I was missing for a part of the class, but I realized there's a lot more than what I understood about English and language and all these different things. So, yeah, just I'm looking forward to reading through and learning more about it. I can't really give what I really grasped from the class because there's a lot that I had to grasp, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anissa. No. Rian.
Um, well, I did communication studies in Form 6, so this is kind of a refresher for me with the formal and informal register and the standard English. And I was wondering, I didn't hear you say anything about like Caribbean standard English, and I was to ask if if communication studies was like, how to say, if this course is something like communication studies. And I didn't hear you mention also frozen registers.
Frozen registers.
Yeah, because I remember hearing that too when I was in class, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay. In terms of Caribbean Standard English, there is a Caribbean Standard English. It tends to favor British spelling. Our pronunciation floats between British and American pronunciation. So we will actually say vitamins. And if you're being pretentious, you say vitamins. Right? So we float between American and British pronunciation of certain words. We tend to, I think we're very closer and closer to American pronunciation, and that probably is because of proximity and the influence American culture has on the Caribbean as a whole. Spelling is still British, pretty much. Pronunciation, punctuation, sorry, is mostly British. And there is a standard educated Caribbean accent that you will hear in almost every island. Or to say it another way, announcers sound the same on every Caribbean radio. Every island I've gone to, the announcer sounds just like the announcers here. So there's a standardized accent in the Caribbean. In terms of frozen register, I'm not exactly sure. I can offer a guess. I'm assuming it means when we do not switch registers, or if I'm remembering sociolinguistics correctly, it could also mean a more antiquated form of the language, and that tends to be the more formal, a more formal version. So when we talk, for example, of academic writing, used to have a lot of passive voice in it, because one of the tenets of of academic writing is avoiding the I. I say this and I said that and I argue so and so. And taking the I out of it, you ended up with a lot of sentences where the subject actually did no action, it was acted upon. So the bag was moved from the table as opposed to I moved the bag, right? So I is the subject. So I move the bag. I perform the action. The bag does not move itself. The bag does not perform the action. So the bag was moved from the table is what we would call passive voice. And once upon a time, writing academic papers, you know, in an effort to avoid saying I did this or I posit that or I argue so and so, you ended up with a lot of passive voice. That is no longer in favor, but for some people, that is still a hallmark of very formal language. And so it's a register that does not shift or change with culture or society. But I will look up frozen register just to make sure my assumption is right or not, because I'm going back a good ways in remembering that.
Well, Mr. Supposed to have the textbook downstairs, so I will look through and see.
Yes. Thank you. Michaela? No? Okay. Nishara?
Yes, miss. For me, it was the registers, also the different varieties of English, like how Americans would say vitamins, and then the British would say vitamins and all that. That was it was quite interesting. So that's what stuck in my mind.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Miss. I'm right here. Sorry. Yes, it was the. I came in a bit late as to one who emailed you, but it was the register. It was very interesting for me. And yeah, that's it. I have to go over the when you post the recording.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Carolyn?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say it was very informative. Your delivery is very clear. I did not realize that the different ways in which we speak, like different ways in which we use English, the English language, is recognized in language teaching. So the English language was very, it has many new depths that we are learning now. So yeah, that's about it. I'm interested to learn in all the new depths in language that I did not have before.
Thank you. Melanie? Sorry.
What stood out for me also was the register. You know, being able to know where to switch up the way you speak in different settings and stuff like that. Also, I realized that the English language is more complex than I imagined. And I am very open to learning a lot more.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Hi, so what was interesting about this class was that the registers, the different switches, because like sometimes you would have dramatic pieces that you would have to do, and sometimes it might be dialect, or so you might have to switch up the different language of how you speak, and also the registers as well, and the pronunciations of different words from the different culture, different languages.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Rebecca with the key.
Hi, good night. Like everybody's saying, it was the same thing for me as well. I enjoyed the video. But I thought that they spoke that way because of accent, and I wasn't aware of uh register, or because different types of English. So that was very informative for me, and I never knew that before. Adults always made us feel like switching between registers was wrong, although I still did it. But I'm glad to know that it's okay to switch between registers, and I could also encourage children to switch between registers as well.
Thank you. Camille?
Oh, hi, for me, I was not aware that we have moved away from the passive voice. When you mentioned it, I wasn't aware of that. So that was an eye opener for me, and also the different registers. Learning about it gave me an appreciation for our own language and how we speak, because growing up, society made you feel that there is a proper way to speak, and if you don't speak that way, well, then you are not speaking properly. So I just learned that appreciation and learned to appreciate our own um, way that we speak.
Thank you. Donnell?
For me, miss, it was learning about the types of writing, although you know some already. The recount was something that I did not know of. So it was nice knowing a new style of writing, and the registers as well, learning about it.
Okay. Thank you. Jamie?
Hi, for me it was a different style of essay writing, and the registers as well, and also the formal and informal writing and speaking. That those stood out for me.
Thank you. Trisha?
For me, it was both with speaking different type of languages. With that said, I grew up in that area where my dad, he is Vinci, and he is a Trini. But when he's out there, he would speak Vinci, and he would speak Trini. And I have a little bit of it when I get upset. And other persons would say that, where you from? So I grew up in that, so I would know how to switch and how to switch back. And the punctuation of different language. My daughter, she would say banana. She wouldn't say banana. She would say nana. So sometimes I would try to correct her. I say it's not nana, it's banana. But she would keep saying nana. So I would just keep telling her about it, and keep with it until she said correctly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christy?
Hi. Just like Carolyn said, you were very clear and precise on what you were saying. I know about informal and formal writing. The expository was something I would be looking forward to, because I like to dissect and dissect pieces and add. I also love reading. I have my own library in my room. So I like to piece together something to make it very interesting. I learned a lot on dialect, and basically everything you said was pretty straightforward, and I hope to learn from there.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And Adiel?
A lot was said tonight, and first I was starting to feel like, where am I in this class? Because so much about English language, and you know that English language is what we speak, but it's so much more to it than just speaking it. And many times, and I didn't even know register was a thing, because many times you're in school, you speak properly, because they tell you you have to do it because you know of the children and they say what they hear. But when you come home and you're with your family, you're speaking all kind of thing, anything you want. You're on the phone with your friend, anything. And you know, one of my friend will always correct me. Adele, you teaching children, you're supposed to speak properly. And I say, give me a break. It's whole day doing it. I just want to talk Trini. Right? So, and now coming to hear that a register is a thing and it's nothing wrong with switching up, even though people make you feel that, you know, what you are doing is wrong. And that was very clear for me. And also, well, the different styles and everything of writing and a lot of things. I learned a lot of things tonight, and like Chrissy and the others said that, you know, it was very clear, and I really hope to learn a lot more, and that this class will be very interesting and interactive for me, so that I can, because I have a problem with expressing myself. Most of the time I understand what is being said, but when it's time to express, whether it be orally or in writing, you find that I will get a lot of trouble. So I just hope that in this class that it will be different.
Thank you. The difference comes in, it is a bad habit because we speak English every day. We think we can automatically write English and write it well. And we don't apply the same rigor and discipline that we would apply to any other subject, right? It's like saying, I count every day, so I must be able to do calculus. It's not true, right? It's a skill you learn and it's a skill you practice. English speaking and writing is a skill you learn and is a skill you practice. And so what I say to students, don't be afraid. It doesn't matter where you start from. If you think of it as a skill that you can practice and improve, your writing will improve, right? And that's what we're here for this semester. So, you know, by the time you're done, you can write op-eds. I'm going to start encouraging all my students to write op-eds. Write to the papers. It's just way too much going on in the world for us not to write to the papers anymore. But also to gain that confidence that you have something to say, it's worth saying, and you can get it out there. Right? So thank you so much. This was our first class. I will look into the padlocks and hopefully and see if I can fix that before the week is out. And the other information should be up by tomorrow. So take your time, go through it whenever you get a chance, and really engage in the material. And I will see you all next week, 5 o'clock Wednesday. So, one more thing. I'm sorry, I always encourage my classes to form a WhatsApp group so that for ease of communication. And
you did that, Chris.
You did that already? Okay, cool. Good. So I don't have to pressure you. I wouldn't mind being added, especially if you have questions, burning questions. I am available between 10 and 4 on a weekday, except for Tuesday. For if you need to call between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., I am available anytime on a weekday, or anytime 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. if you need to WhatsApp chat, right? If you send a WhatsApp, okay? So 10 to 4 if you actually need to make a phone call, and 10 to 10 if you send a WhatsApp. And my number is on the syllabus, right? So I will see you all next week. Y'all can sign out.
Okay, Miss. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Have a good night.